Indianapolis, you know that now infamous story that characterized Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz as selfish and egotistical? His understudy isn't having any of it. "I haven't had a better teammate than Carson," said former North Dakota State quarterback Easton Stick, who is competing this week at the NFL's annual scouting combine. "I think you saw the supportive guys in his locker room and things like that. Obviously, I'm not there, but I know who he is as a person, the character he has, and I know the experiences I had with him. I didn't see any of that stuff." In fact, Stick has stayed in touch with Wentz in the years since Wentz was drafted and Stick took over the starting job at NDSU. The two have even spoken relatively recently as Stick goes through the pre-draft rigmarole. Stick said Wentz has been a great resource as he goes through the process. In a way, Wentz helped pave the way for Stick. Wentz is just the latest in a group of former FCS quarterbacks. Stick also fired off the names Joe Flacco, Jimmy Garoppolo and Ryan Fitzpatrick to find success in the NFL. Even though they're very different quarterbacks, Stick hopes the Wentz connection might help teams realize he can play at the next level. There's even a common thought that the Eagles might draft a developmental quarterback late in this year's draft. Why not Stick? After all, the Eagles know how much that NDSU system transfers to the NFL, so he would have a built-in support system in Philly. And Stick even signed with Rep 1 Sports, the same agency that represents Wentz. "It would be really exciting," Stick said about the possibility of joining the Eagles. "Wentz has been a good friend and has been a really good teammate to me in Fargo. If that's where I ended up, I'd be really happy." At 6'1", Stick is a much different player than the 6'5" Wentz. While Wentz is a towering figure, Stick is a much greater running threat. He rushed for over 2,500 yards in 4 years at NDSU. Stick got his first college action in Wentz's final college season in 2015. Wentz broke his wrist during the year and Stick took over, going 8-0 in his absence. Wentz's broken wrist healed in time for the FCS National Championship game and Stick went back to the bench. The Bison beat Jacksonville State 37-10 in that game and Stick was forced to watch. Stick admitted it was tough to miss that game, but it was Wentz's team and everyone knew if Wentz was healthy enough to return, he would play. But during that 8-game stretch, Wentz helped guide Stick as much as he could. "He was a huge resource," Stick said. "He was really another coach, honestly. He was at all our practices. He was working really hard in case he had another opportunity to play moving forward. He was there every step of the way, helping us in meetings, kind of walking me through stuff." Stick guided NDSU to national championships in 2017 and 2018. When asked about the biggest thing he learned from Wentz, Stick answered the importance of having a plan on every play. Quarterbacks in the NDSU system had control at the line and Wentz taught him to always understand what the defense is doing, why they're doing it and how to get into the right play. It was really a lesson in preparedness. And now Stick is prepared to get drafted or deal with not hearing his name called. Either way, Wentz will be around to help him with whatever comes next. Click here to download the My Teams app by NBC Sports. Receive comprehensive coverage of your teams and stream the Flyers, Sixers and Phillies games easily on your device. More on the Eagles. Nick Foles can officially choose his next team after the Eagles announced Wednesday that they will let the quarterback become a free agent, as expected. Yet, as much as Foles deserves this opportunity, it's going to be nerve-wracking the next few weeks while we wait to see where he lands. If he chooses Jacksonville, no big deal. If it's the Giants, seriously, Nick, don't test us. In fact, maybe consult this handy guide to see which landing spots are best. That is if you cares at all how Eagles fans feel. 1. Jacksonville pros. A Foles-John DeFilippo reunion is easy to cheer. The former Eagles assistant joined the Jaguars as offensive coordinator in January. It gets Foles outside the conference, too, which means he's not Philly's problem unless matched up in the Super Bowl. Jacksonville has never won the big game either, so people could probably live with that should such an unlikely event come to pass. Cons: a cast of unlikable stars like Leonard Fournette, provided he's not traded, and Jalen Ramsey. Plus, who wants to see former Giants coach turned current Jaguars vice president of football operations Tom Coughlin take a run at another Super Bowl ring? Feeling meh. The Nick. Due to 4, Miami, Oakland, Cincinnati pros, feels fairly certain none of these three franchises has a prayer of winning the Super Bowl within the next few years. All are out of conference, therefore not an impediment to the Eagles. In short, they're irrelevant. Cons: how depressing would it be to see Foles wind up back in a situation similar to when he was traded to the Rams? Okay, maybe none of these three franchises is quite that bad, but there isn't a single playoff win between the three of them since 2002. He'd probably be better off returning to Philadelphia as a backup. Feeling 2 years later. Wait, Nick Foles is still in the league, 5-6. Tampa Bay, Carolina pros, neither landing spot is particularly likely. The Bucs appear to be sticking with Jameis Winston, and the Panthers, all but confirmed there's no need for attempt to fill in for an injured Cam Newton. Cons: either would keep Foles in the conference, and the Panthers in particular are quite competitive most seasons. While not classic rivals, there's enough history with both, think 2002 and 03, to make it uncomfortable for Eagles fans. Feeling wouldn't want to see him in January. 7. Washington pros, $20 million in cap space already committed to Alex Smith for 2019, plus another $16 million in prorated bonus money due in future years, perhaps setting the stage for one expensive quarterback controversy in 2020. Washington doesn't have a ton of cap flexibility to begin with, so signing Foles likely limits the club's ability to improve the rest of the roster. Cons: with a respectable core in place, Foles makes Washington a viable challenger for the Eagles in the NFC East. Feeling just Dan Snyder being Dan Snyder. 8. New York Giants pros, none. Okay, fine. Foles doesn't fix their defense. Cons: I'm not convinced Foles is that much of an upgrade over Eli Manning, but supposing he is, the Giants could become a legitimate threat in the NFC East. More than the impact on the field though, it would be hard to watch an Eagles legend take the field for one of the team's two most hated rivals. It's just wrong. Feeling rip down the statue. Click here to download the My Teams app by NBC Sports. Receive comprehensive coverage of your teams and stream the Flyers, Sixers and Phillies games easily on your device. More on the Eagles updated, 11:11 a.m. Indianapolis, Super Bowl hero Brandon Graham is staying put. The Eagles and Graham have reached a 3-year contract extension that will keep Graham in Philadelphia through 2021. This deal comes before Graham would have reached free agency on March 13. The 3-year deal is worth $40 million, a league source confirmed to NBC Sports Philadelphia. That works out to around $13 million per season. After making this deal, the Eagles will likely need to find ways to create some cap space. There are ways, including declining Tim Jernigan's contract, asking Jason Peters to take a pay cut and possibly extending or moving Nelson Aguilar. The Eagles are good at the cap game, so I wouldn't worry. Graham, 30, is the second longest tenured player on the team, having been drafted in the first round in 2010. Graham's career has been one of great highs and great lows. The great lows came early when he was labeled as a draft bust too early. The highest of highs came when he got a strip sack of Tom Brady in Super Bowl 52. He'll be 33 when the deal finishes and he'll likely be the longest 10-yard Eagle on the roster by then. This is a great feeling for me right now, man, Graham to the Eagles website. My family and we didn't want to go anywhere else, so to get this done, that's the best feeling. I'm over here smiling ear to ear. I've been doing that since I heard the news. With 42.5 sacks, Graham is 7th in franchise history. He leads the team in tackles for loss, 61, and forced fumbles, 12, since 2014. In recent years, he has been their most consistent edge rusher. As the 2018 season started to wind down, Graham was definitely aware that his team with the Eagles could be winding down too. He remained hopeful that he would be back. "I think about, it has been a long road, it has been 9 years," Graham said just after the season ended. "I do not have any regrets. I have enjoyed this time if it is the end. At the end of the day, I am hoping I passed down some good stuff for them to keep in this organization, like the young DB, the next man up, who now has to be the leader, to keep it going, keep it positive in here and keep everybody believing even when things get bad. Hopefully, that rubbed off on these boys and let the young guys see how we get through it, especially through adversity. You have to look at the positives. We have a bunch of good guys here that are going to feel this and be ready for next year, with many top edge rushers expected to get franchise tag. Graham might have been one of the top pass rushers available on the open market, but he won't even test it." Graham said he wanted to return and now he will, without even trying free agency. On locker cleanout day, Graham was giving out hugs to reporters as they exited the building. "It sure felt like a goodbye. Turns out it wasn't." Graham is staying put. Click here to download the My Teams app by NBC Sports. Receive comprehensive coverage of your teams and stream the Flyers, Sixers and Phillies games easily on your device. More on the Eagles.